Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTubeverse? I am back once again with a small little short video about how to keep crickets alive. The best way to do so, at least. This is not for breeding purposes. This is simply for if you're using your feeders as feeders and you want to keep them alive for more than just 2 days, kind of a deal. Crickets do kind of pass away very quickly, and so to keep them going, to make it so that your food for your animals is good and healthy, some tricks and tips right here, starting with the type of container I like to use. Something like this, doesn't have to be exactly this big, but these kind of plastic containers are really good for that kind of thing. And the smooth surfaces on the side, that's plastic or glass, crickets can't really climb that. They're not like other bugs where they have those really good climbing feet sort of deal. They're used to being in wilderness, climbing on grass and stuff that has fibers and stuff that their feet can kind of hook into. Smooth surfaces they're not so good with. So to have a smooth surface, and usually they come with usually some sort of plastic lid that works very good with your creatures, keeping those critters like the crickets or anything else, even like dubias in there. Another trick with that, you want to put paper towel across the bottom because I was telling you how these things are very smooth and stuff, right? So by laying some paper towel across the bottom of this thing here on the inside, that'll help your crickets grip the bottom. They won't get flipped over. They won't get stuck. Another thing to do, those egg cartons they put in your stuff. Go ahead and use that because those things are amazing. Crickets have a weird sort of way of breathing, like most insects do, or if not all, just about, where they inhale through their body. So they breathe air almost through their skin, but it's not skin. It's carapace. It's exoskeleton. It's something of that design. But they absorb air through that in a similar fashion that crabs and lobsters would, kind of a thing. They're both very closely related on the tree of life, so it could be very different, but also similar. So if you're familiar with that kind of stuff, Cat's over here trying to play with the box, man. Rorschach. I didn't hit him with that. That was my controller right there. Plus controller I smacked. He's being crazy. But the crickets, they also like moisture too. So don't spray them directly because the whole breathing thing still. But you want the egg carton so they're not on top of one another. To have things that the crickets can climb on top of and get off of one another, they can breathe better. And that'll help them out a lot. Usually some of the cricket keepers come with tubes and stuff, but something like this, man, so much cheaper. And the ones like these have little clip lids. Don't really carry your cricket carrier by the top handle. It could fall very easily. These little clip thingies help with that, but sometimes they can snap or they're not quite as structurally sound as you would like them to be. So hold your cricket carrier from the bottom if you're buying your crickets from the store and having it put right in your container. Most stores, if not all stores, should do that. They will do that. My store does that. The store I used to work for does that. So, you know, it's a good container to have, kind of a deal. It doesn't have to be that. It can be any kind of smooth Tupperware that makes it so they can't climb the sides very easy. And that's why you put the paper towel across the bottom. Now, what are we going to feed them? Usually, pet stores will have something called cricket food, cricket quencher. And what those are, the food looks like ground up little bits of just, I don't know, like little grains ground up real good. But really what it is pretty much grains, corn, stuff like that, all mixed and blended. If you can't find that or you don't get it and you're in an emergency, you can use fruits, vegetables, things like that. You want to do water not in a dish. You do not want standing water. They do not recognize it. Crickets will jump on it and start drowning. And again, with the skin thing, the carapace, the exoskeleton thing, whatever you want to call it, it can, make it difficult. They get all water all over them and they can pretty much pass away. And another thing is don't put your calcium powder on too early because that'll also hinder breathing and it may make a lot of your crickets not make it to the time that you want to feed it to your lizard or frog or something like that. And then outside of that, you do want to go. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the food and water thing. Sorry, you do want to give food and stuff. So good stuffs. What your crickets are gonna eat, or what your animals that you're actually using the crickets for are gonna eat. So I like to use cucumber, carrot, stuff like that for their food slash water. The water, what you're gonna do, you can put it in a sponge. You can use a vegetable, wet it under the sink and stuff. Make sure you get it like a lot of the water drops on it, and then they can get a bit of water from that, and they also get their food from that. So I do recommend doing some sort of like cricket food or something. Or if you can't do that and you have fish, fish food is actually pretty good substitute. Crickets can eat fish food, like fish flakes and stuff. I wouldn't recommend giving them algae wafers or pellets because their jaws may not be strong enough to eat that stuff. But if you want to give cricket food and you can't find cricket food and you're not really wanting to use your vegetables and stuff, there you go. If you don't want to use vegetables for them, you can put water on a sponge or something. Some cricket sort of like kits for feeders, not like to keep as pets, but they do these kits where there's a little black thing or a white thing. It's kind of like little, almost looks like a scrubby pad, tiny scrubby pad. That's actually a sponge. You wet that with water, you put it in that little dish that they have there, and that's what gives your crickets water. So there's different ways to give them water and so on. And even if you're giving them water, I recommend getting you like a small spritz bottle that you have somewhere laying around at home and spritz some clean, very non-chlorinated water around in their enclosure and stuff. Well, you can get it right from the sink when it comes to crickets, but do a couple spritz. And the reason why you're making it humid in there and spritzing it is because they molt. And when a cricket molts, they can get stuck in that molt. So the shed is what I almost said, stuck in the molt. And if that happens, then your cricket's not going to be making it past that. Your cricket's going to be not a cricket. It's going to be a cricket jerky very quickly. And because of that, you can put a little bit of moisture in there. You can spray it once a day, just a little bit, Same thing like you do for if you have pet spiders or something, because a lot of spiders do that for the same reason, because they also molt. So any creature that molts, giving a bit of extra humidity to help them with that, change from smaller to larger, that'll be very good for them. Outside of that, we got the food, we got the stuff covered. Outside of that, how you feed them and how much, it depends on the animal. I recommend talking to someone you trust, asking a vet, or, my comments are open. You can ask my opinion on how much. All of it's not exact. All animals eat more or less, even if they're the same species. Like, you're going to have one beardy that's going to love crickets, love all their insects, and barely eat any fruit at all their life. And then some that eat them both. And then you got some that just don't really care for the bugs too much, kind of thing. And that's just one species of animal. So when it comes to what you feed and how much, that does depend on the species of creature. And it does depend on how their size is. So that is what's different. Today's video is simply about keeping those crickets alive, so you can hopefully keep them for a week or so, and some tips and tricks to kind of add some extra nutrition. Because I like cucumber because cucumber has vitamin B. I like carrots because a lot of the good vitamins and stuff in carrots as well. Like I said, what your food eats, or what your animal's food eats, gets transferred into their tummies as well. Which is also why the cricket stuff I'm talking about from the store, it's good because it loads them with calcium. Calcium's super important for your lizards. I would say gut load your crickets with the calcium feed that you get from the store, and then go ahead and put some powder on them right when you're dumping them into the enclosure. So you don't want to put the powder on while they're hanging out for a few days. That can help them not be alive so much. And what you do instead is when you're about to go ahead and put them in, just kind of spritz them with a little bit of powder and then toss them right into that enclosure for your animal. And that should be a feel good trip. I was about to say tips and tricks, and I almost said trips. I am tripping with my words. Aha. Now, all jokes aside, my silliness of how I talk weird sometimes. Thank you guys for listening. I do hope this helps you with your crickets and stuff. I do know stuff about other animals as far as like their feed and stuff, like how to keep other things alive. I've done it with dubias and stuff as well. I can answer questions you ask and do all that, but hopefully this helps out. This is what I tell people when I'm at the store and kind of give that spiel there, and they usually leave pretty happy, and they even tell me that it does help, that their crickets do live longer with these tips. So, good luck with everything. Hope your animals are doing good. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.